Gold and silver had a stellar performance these last few weeks, though to many of the juniors in the sector, the improved sentiment has not filtered down yet. One of the companies that we think might have great upside potential this year is Element79 Gold, ticker ELEM, which is planning to execute a two-pronged strategy over the coming month. We're talking to CEO James Tworek today to hear more about his plans. Welcome, James.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. James, before we start talking about Element79, please give our audience a bit of background on yourself. It's always good to know more about the people at the helm of a company, especially in the junior exploration space.
Sure, absolutely. Number one, I've been a gold bug and an investor in precious metals, buying physical bullion for years. I started my career in commercial banking, did about 7.5 years with major banks here in Canada. And then I had jumped out to a brokerage that had a mezzanine fund, a development fund inside of it. We could use a portion of the funds inside that fund for kind of venture capital. And this is where I really cut my teeth in venture capital investing. I worked inside that fund for about 7.5 years, and circa 2012 broke out on my own, both running a brokerage for my own needs as well as helping companies raise capital. In that, being that I'm based in Calgary in Western Canada, a lot of investments in this realm are in natural resources. So looking at oil and gas, mining, agriculture for a lot of the general realm of what business is here. And this is where I had started investing in some private mines. A long-time colleague that we had successfully funded a number of deals with came to me. We built a relationship and friendship over about 18 years. And he came to me and said he was founding a mining company for which I was very excited. And this is where we started. And jumped in with both feet. It's been about 30 months since we started this adventure. And we've gone on a great tear in terms of M&A. And we had a great strategy, which I'm sure we'll go through here in the interview. But very excited to see where this company is going.
Great, thank you. So let's talk about that company then, about Element79. Perhaps starting with Peru, the company has two projects there, past producing high-grade mines, Machacala and Lucero. Please tell us what you have there, where the mines are located, what kind of production volumes were achieved in the past, at what grades, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure thing, thank you. So we built this company to be a bit of a different model as opposed to many junior miners. Many junior miners focus on exploration. And while that's good, we absolutely, the entire industry in every resource sector requires further exploration. It's very difficult to sustain a business without cash flow. And I don't care what industry you're in, if you're speaking tech or mining or anything of any industry. Our focus has been to ensure that we've built a ladder of properties that not only have value in them, but also bring us close to cash flow. Where this has ended up is that last June, we ended up acquiring two previously producing high-grade gold and silver mines, as you've just mentioned, in Peru. Jurisdictionally, it's relatively simple to obtain production permits. These two mines are permitted today. The social licenses are relatively friendly, and it's a matter of basically finishing off some contracts with the local communities to gain access to the surface rights. But speaking specifically, Machacala, it has been producing intermittently over the last roughly 50 years, and in its last 5-year window had been producing a gold equivalent ratio of about 10.5 grams per ton, which is fantastic. So very efficient, per scoop that we pull out of the ground. There is regional infrastructure in the area where we would be able to toll process the product. It's roughly 20 kilometers away, and there's significant expansion capacity. Shifting gears to Lucero, which really is our crown jewel in Peru and our main focus. This mine has been producing since the 1950s intermittently, and it's 10.8 thousand hectares of land, which is 26,000 football fields of land at the top of a mountain. To give you an idea of the land package, it's massive. The production has all come out of the south portion of the property, and it was producing at a gold equivalent average of 19 grams per ton in the last 5 years of its production, which is fantastic. Again, regional infrastructure in place, roughly 20, 25 kilometers away. So in the first couple of years, we're able to basically start extracting ore, sending that down the literally down the mountain to be toll milled, and we can generate revenue through that in the short run. And then ultimately, the plan is to, once we get to a stabilized level of maybe 100 to 150 tons per day of ore extraction, once that's stabilized over a period of time, we've already been speaking to global level infrastructure funders to look at debt facilities where once we have cash flow, we can bring in debt and we can build out our own infrastructure, which just increases the economics of producing out of these mines. So we're very excited about being able to, number one, generate cash flow within the coming 12 months from these properties, as well as expanding. So Lucero also, with such a large land package, gives us the ability for ultimately some resource discoveries. There are indications of a large scale porphyry in the north, a high sulfidation target that we will be exploring. And so it gives us that opportunity just on one land package to be able to balance both cash flow and successfully maintain our operations and grow them organically without having to dilute by raising capital all the time. But in addition to give us that great blue sky, we'll say geological expansion, and resource expansion opportunity. Very exciting.
Well, certainly sounds very exciting. Yes. So you have your work cut out when you say about the next 12 months to get back to the cash flow. Of course, as you said, the gold price is pretty favorable at the moment. Also good for the sentiment in the sector. But as far as I understand, the generating the cash flow in Peru is means to a higher end, let's say, because you can use that cash flow once it's there to further the exploration of your Maverick Springs project in Nevada, which is, I think it's probably the jewel in the Element79 crown, right?
That's right. Taking a step back, as we built this ladder, first we built the team. Okay, we brought in global level production experts. Our COO, Antonios Maragakis, has worked on a number of projects globally for Barrick, Koch Industries, Freeport-McMoRan, El Dorado, and he also runs a consultancy, which really helps in terms of our in-house economics, in terms of being able to basically use, fractional use, engineers, geologists, et cetera, to get projects. And the consultancy's focus is to help get projects to cash flow, if not optimize their cash flow and optimize their operations to just improve the business overall. In addition, we also have Mr. Kim Kirkland, he's a perfect key in terms of fitting both with our Nevada perspective as well as Peru, in the sense that he lives in Nevada, he's a Nevada native, but also for the last 20 years has worked on major projects like MMG's Las Bambas mine in Peru. Now, starting with that, we have an amazing team that knows what we're doing. We're not just a pure exploratory group trying to get to production. We're actually more of a production group that has products that allow us to get to production. More specifically, we built this ladder of properties focusing on, number one, Maverick Springs has a 3.17 million ounce of gold equivalency inferred resource on it. And through that, number one, we actually have something I can say, look, I've actually got value. It's not just a blue sky exploratory story, and trust me, we'll get there. We will be expanding that resource, and both through capital raises as well as you've just brought up, the whole point of being able to self-sustain through cash flow, not just operational costs and SG&A running a company, but also the intent is to, once cash flow is generated, use that free cash flow to both improve resources in Peru as well as expand the resource in Nevada. So very excited about this. Okay.
So what are your plans in Nevada then for this year? Are you planning to start drilling? Will you do some more geophysics? What have you on the property this year?
Yes, absolutely. Our VP Exploration, Kim Kirkland, has been out to the property about 4 times in the last just as many months, reviewing the surface geology, looking for additional step outs. You have to understand that Maverick Springs, all of the inferred resource that's there right now is only about 1,000 acres. of what's roughly a 4,800-acre property. So while number one, we can look at doing infield drilling amidst all of the extra, or I should say, all of the existing 48,000 meters, which is really a lot of deep drilling. As we have revisited this from a open pit mine perspective, it's to our advantage to look at what the higher strata are, what they hold in terms of resource value, and trying to improve the understanding of both metallurgy as well as the content that's there. Number one. Number two, there are existing permitted sites for Maverick Springs that obviously great little step outs to the east and the north of the inferred resource. In addition to that, some of the surface inclusions on the rest of the acreage. Kim has been walking the hills for the last couple of months, and for better or for worse, he's found some great additional step outs where we can do some trenching. We're likely to start with MagRes and LiDAR to really help prove up some of these anomalies, and then continue on with surface sampling, trenching, and maybe a couple step outs, depending on where the budgets go.
Okay. Well, certainly interesting to see. Though Maverick Springs is not the only project you have there in Nevada. Actually, it's quite a big portfolio of projects. And you recently signed LOI to sell 5 of those projects. Assuming these close as thought, can we expect to see more of those deals as another way to generate cash flow, perhaps?
Yes, absolutely. I think we'll call it the economic cycle, the resource cycle is in favor. When we acquired the entire portfolio from Waterton, it was an all or nothing deal in the sense that we wanted Maverick Springs, and the negotiating terms were such that we ended up having to acquire the rest, which is a total of 16 properties, counting Maverick Springs and what we call the Battle Mountain portfolio. Some of these projects were very well developed. Effectively, they were just done very far in the past, so they don't have modern 43101 resources that are compliant. So it's up to us to basically go back, and some of these projects have between 100 and 150 drill holes on them, which makes them appealing both to us, if not a third party that's looking for what I'll call a starter kit to start their own company, or perhaps bolt on to their existing land package in Nevada if it happens to be, we'll say, using the everyone's favorite term of closeology, regionally, close enough to something they're already playing with. So there's some great opportunity for us to, number one, sell off the properties, in terms of being able to generate either shares and or cash to add to the bottom line inside Element79 to further our own exploits. In addition to, we could also develop them ourselves. Or we might be looking at some spin-outs as well. So creating sub-companies, or we'll say an ecosystem of companies around us based on some of these companies being the new spearhead of a new co.
Well, certainly a lot of possibilities to work with over the next couple of months. Well, interesting. So just summarize for us, please, for our audience, why, in your personal opinion, now might be the good time to take a closer look at Element79. And perhaps you could also say a few words on how the political situation in Peru might affect or not affect the company.
Sure. I'll address that in 2 pieces. Number one, it's my personal opinion that buying Element79 stock on the market right now is very, very value priced and advantageous to an investor. We have seen, based on $30 million of acquisitions in the last year, we're currently only reflecting something like about a $5 to $6 million market cap. The additional, expansion capacity, number one, of getting to cash flow, to blue sky upside in terms of development capacity, both in Peru as well as at Maverick Springs, and 3, the optionality of the portfolio, whether we keep that in-house or sell it. You're going to see a lot of activity inside the company and a lot of growth, but the new focus is focus in terms of really just focusing our energies. The last 18 months have really been spent, building the company, and now we're going to turn down. Separately, to answer your second question, the political situation in Peru, while dire and grave, and I can only imagine what that would mean if it was happening in your own country, in Germany or here in Canada. these things have a tendency to work themselves out, and they will pass. I'm not saying I have a crystal ball that's telling me it's going to end in 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but ultimately, we look at the macro perspective of Peru, and the vast majority of the economy is tied to mining one way or the other. It has an amazing history. The country of Peru and its people have an amazing history of mining. We don't necessarily see the regime changing against, or the tides shifting against, the mining industry as a whole. So in the meantime, this gives us an opportunity to pause and focus for strategizing and next steps in terms of development. We're going to be closing some rounds of capitalization for the company in the coming months to be able to bring these projects to fruition, as we've already described. So it's very exciting. And again, we definitely wish all the people of Peru nothing but the best as they work through the political turmoil of this time.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think these are good closing remarks, and we will be able to talk again in a couple of months and see how far you got with all your plans. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bjorn.